Hello and welcome to the Optimapharm podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Gary, and today I am speaking with the brilliant Ivailo, who is Senior Director of Business Intelligence, and Carol, who heads up the Project Management Department, both from Optimapharm. They're here to talk us through the Biotech decision engine, turning data into direction. Sounds great. Welcome both. How are you feeling?
Hi, Stephanie. It's good to be here.
Yeah, hi, Steph. Thanks for having us. Thank you.
My pleasure, and such an important topic. So let's just jump straight in. And Carol, I'm going to come to you first. So would you mind telling us why oversight in clinical trials is still so difficult? And I guess in particular, what does this mean for sponsors, please?
Well, thank you, Steph, for that question. I think this is really important, and especially from my perspective as a project manager and the project management team, because our job is to understand, what's happening across the study and make sure we act before the small things become really big problems. And the challenge is that currently the information is often spread across different systems, vendors, countries, and the functional teams, right? So at the same time, as a project management team, as a project team, we need really quick answers. We need to know, are we on track? What are the risks? What should I focus on today? But getting the answers often means collecting, reconciling information manually. It's so difficult. It's really so old approach. So what happens? Of course, then the industry still relies on Excel. And because Excel is flexible, it's familiar to everyone, and it simply fills the gaps between the systems. But now, what comes when we go with larger, complex study? We rely on Excel spreadsheets, and that would create really big challenges in the version control, in the governance risk, and the reports are coming outdated quite quickly. So we spend more data on validating them instead of managing the delivery, and that's the biggest challenge for us.
Yeah, Carol, I can only compliment this. So indeed, nowadays we don't lack data, right? So the industry is generating more data than ever before. So in a way, the real challenge is that this data lives across multiple systems, and those systems were never designed actually to work together. Each one has its own naming conventions, as you said, definitions, and the same metric formats and update schedules. So before a project can actually work with this data, they must first reconcile it. So often Excel comes in, bridging the gap between the systems. So it's indeed a powerful tool, but it was never built to serve as an integration layer between those complex global oversights. So in a way, the result is that the sponsor is often receiving a snapshot rather than a real-time view of how the data in the project is outlined and how the project itself is performing. So in a way, we don't have a single source of truth, and the conversation tends to focus mostly on validating the data and resolving the discrepancies rather than on the risks themselves, the decisions that have to be taken, and what the next steps would be.
Yeah, definitely. There's such a love-hate relationship with Excel spreadsheets, isn't there? Like, they serve a purpose, but there's got to be a better solution. And I guess actually, Ivailo, I'd love to ask, how is Optimapharm approaching this challenge?
Yeah. The Optimapharm's challenge was to create an integrated project reporting solution that we named BI Wizard. And this solution brings the data from multiple systems into a single environment that provides live dashboards with visualizations of the performance across every dimension of the study. So indeed, definitions in that way stay consistent. The metric logic is aligned. The dashboards refresh regularly, and at the end, everyone is working from the same facts. And I think that the goal was clear from the very beginning, to give everyone access to the same trusted information through a single, I believe, genuinely easy to use interface. And that removes much of the manual reconciliation and the Excel-based reporting workflows that many organizations still depend on. And for me personally, what matters most is that the BI Wizard is built around the how the clinical projects are actually managed, so the process itself, and not shaped by the limitations of the different systems.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. And then, Carol, from your perspective, what does this mean for sponsor CRO collaboration?
Right. So what Ivail mentioned, that's very important to us, is that the sponsor, they don't need more data. They just need a confidence that, we are seeing the right information at the right time to make the right decisions. And from the PM perspective, actually, it's the biggest value of Wizard. And all these changes is the value, which also Ivail mentioned just before, that everyone starts working from the same picture of reality, from the same source of truth, right? So instead of spending time discussing where the numbers comes from, which report is correct, or whether the data is updated or not, we can really focus on what actually matters, the delivery. And for example, we can track the enrollment status by site, by country. We can see whether the project milestones and timelines are on risk, oversee monitoring quality, or even know which issues and where require escalation. And these are the actual conversations we should have, and that helps the project move forward, right? So what I really like the most is the changes in the nature of sponsor and CRO interactions and collaboration, because this discussion shifts from reporting the past to really managing the future. And instead of discussing which report version is correct, we focus on what really matters: decisions, risks, escalations, and the next steps. So we also spend less time preparing status updates and more time identifying risk early, agreeing on the decisions, and protecting the project delivery together with our sponsor. So, and that's where the real partnership is built.
Love that. Great examples. Thank you for sharing. Well, and then what's coming next, Ivailo? What can we expect to see soon?
I mean, so far, real-time reporting is an important milestone, definitely, but it has never been the final destination for us, and definitely not for the industry in general. So the next step is moving from reporting to what has happened to what's likely to happen next. So in a way, that's why predictive analytics comes in, and it's becoming increasingly important on how we think in general about trial oversight. So we are focused on areas like earlier risk detection, as Carol said, and deeper operational intelligence, like patient profiling, for example, to support risk-based oversight and help teams focus on the patients and the signals that need most attention. The goal at the end is indeed to become more proactive. So instead of identifying the issues after they've already affected timelines and delivery, we want the teams to anticipate the risks earlier, and at the end make better informed decisions across the full project lifecycle.
Amazing. Well, sounds great. Thank you both so much for coming on today and sharing. And if you're listening and thinking, well, this sounds great and you'd like to see more, you can request a demo by clicking the link either in the episode description or on the post that you're seeing this on, and we'll be in touch to organise that soon. And do, of course, feel free to connect with Carol and Ivailo directly. They'd be very happy to chat. But for now, thank you both so much. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you, Steph. Thank you, everyone.